Exploring the unknown. From conspiracies to mysteries, you are entering the conspiracy sector.
Well, welcome everyone to this very special program. I'm your host, Aubrey Batchelor, and co-hosting this amazing ship of divine knowledge with me is Chris Jacobs, and you are entering the conspiracy sector. Well, today we have a very special Thanksgiving episode for you. We're going to be talking about the realms of UFOs, UAPs, whatever terminology you want to use that the government makes up for it nowadays. We're going to be talking about space brothers, aliens, different races of aliens, different UFO sightings, our own experiences. We're going to be really trying to lay the gamut down over a short period of time when it comes to this amazing topic. UFOs and aliens for me, Chris, I don't know about you, but for me, my UFO sighting, my first couple of UFO sightings for me were kind of not necessarily just stepping stones, but more so the curiosity key or the curiosity code and key to unlock my way into the weird and strange and learn all the amazing things that are out there. You know, there were other things, but my first couple of UFO sightings really kind of opened my mind up to everything because I knew what I seen, just wasn't technology that we have, man has here on this earth, that man could survive the G-force for one thing, because one of my sightings that I seen, this craft went from 0 to 2,000 miles an hour just like a snap of a finger, and I don't know any creature that could survive that, that quick. It'd like turn your brains into scrambled eggs probably.
Basically, what they have is like almost like what you hear on Star Trek, like an inertial dampener in there, essentially, so it would cancel out the inertia, so they don't die.
Yeah, that's interesting. Who knows? That technology could exist. I don't know. I can't say that it's aliens, can't say that it's humans. I just feel that way with most of the UFOs that I've seen are probably not government related. I believe it's probably about 60-40. I've seen 5 UFO events now. I was just joking a few months ago. That's why Chris and I kind of decided to do this. Chris and I, he snapped a picture of a UFO. You'll have to edit that in there sometime, that picture, if you still have it. We go on a ghost hunt and find a UFO accidentally.
Yeah, that was interesting at Lake Street Lake there in Lincoln. I was snapping pictures.
That's 6 technically for me. I'll count that as 0.5 since didn't technically see it, but we were there. So that's 0.5, 5.5 events for me.
Yeah, I snapped a picture of an airplane that was flying by, and then I had this compulsion to snap it again, and then there was a spheroid UFO following the airplane in the picture.
That was sweet. Yeah.
Didn't expect it to be there, but it was there. It was ghosting the airplane.
And I'm pretty sure that's crazy. Out of the blue, to even see it too. It's going so quick, it's kind of blurry. It just accidentally captured him. And I remember it's something that you told me there that day. I remember you said that you've had good luck capturing stuff, just randomly taking pictures of the sky.
Yeah, that's why I just snap pictures everywhere.
Yeah, well, just think about it. How often do people spend how many hours of the day? How many minutes of the day, how many seconds of the day do people spend just staring up into the sky with their eyes? Not a lot.
Because they're picking up stuff that's there. Like we had we first moved to Prescott, I snapped a picture up on the highest point of Prescott where there's a casino called Bucky's Casino. And I started snapping pictures. I got a golden orb in one frame and a UFO in the other frame. Oh, so cool. It was a big umbrella shaped one that was in the sky.
That would be cool.
Yeah, that one was a very interesting one. If I find the photo, I'll add it to the edit. But it was actually quite interesting. We got the orb with a little being in the center of it, and then we had the UFO. It was like this umbrella like shape that came up of it. It was actually interesting.
That sounds interesting, and the colors that they emit, like what you're describing about yours, that's what I find fascinating too about UFOs is all the different reports and things of that nature, all the different sizes, shapes, colors, textures, craft capabilities, the sounds, everything is so amazing and strange and interesting surrounding this topic. Ancient history, for me, I'll run down all my sightings real quick and we'll kind of elaborate off of them. Well, I'll try to run them down thoroughly real quick. I get excited about them. Who doesn't after an event like this? And please, people are scared to talk about this, scared of being judged, scared of being ridiculed, thinking that they'll sound crazy. Don't sound crazy. People see things all the time. And please comment your stories. Chris and I love to hear about your stories. And also, you can also report your stories on a platform, on a page that I'll show you later. But please be open about your stories. Be open about UFOs. Talk to people, talk to a group, and share your stories. Find like-minded people that can help you open up your mind even more, I guess, per se. But my first one that I ever had, I was with my dad. I grew up out on a ranch in the middle of nowhere, just on the South Dakota-Nebraska border. And anyhow, my grandfather and my cousin were in town bowling, and my father and I were in town watching them. We're driving back, and my first 3 UFO events right away, not to intervene with the own story, but all 3 of my first UFO events that I had in my life all happened about 10:25 to 11 at night. So all in that same 30-minute time period, strangely enough. But I was 12 years old, driving back with my dad right on the state line out in the middle of nowhere on a dirt road. We see this white, bright orb light, like one of these stars in this picture behind you, like the brightest one up here in the corner. Just like that, just think of one, but it's emitting, pulsating, on, off. My dad and I watch it for about 45 seconds. And all of a sudden, it went from just blinking to being a stationary light, and it went from 0 miles an hour, shoom, took off just like that and was gone. Out of sight, out of mind. 12 years old, seeing that. We stopped and looked at it for about 45 seconds, gone. Second one I seen, I was with a bunch of friends. Let's fast forward about 6 years. I'd be 18 and a half. We're out on the edge of town, way up on a canyon road, off way in the distance, about 7 miles up ahead down in the valley, there's a highway. Well, this is, 10:45, 11 o'clock at night, tiny town, not a lot of traffic on the highway. Tried to debunk all these things, throughout my life as my mind opened up and I grew more wisdom and whatnot. And, I had 5 of my friends in the car, including myself. And I knew it wasn't headlights playing tricks on us behind the tree line on the highway. This is kind of before drones got super popular. One of my friends thought it was a plane. Well, I hate to tell you, planes don't go into trees and come out of them, but this just looked like a white, or just a steady orb light, a steady orb light that was, going around in the tree line, vanishing, going around in the tree line, vanishing, just like that light bulb or that flashlight right there. And, I slowed down to probably like, I don't know, 3 miles an hour going down the canyon hill, looking off in the distance. And I said, that's a UFO. That's a UFO. Watch it again. These first 3 events all happened around the same time, and they all happened about 35 seconds to about 1 minute and 10 seconds each. My first 3 events. And I said, that's a UFO. Then all of them thinking theories. All of a sudden, the light just vanished and it was gone. Don't know what it was. I then learned about Will-o'-the-Wisp. The supposed supernatural light being creature that haunts swamps and stuff like that has been portrayed as swamp gas. See, where there's strange thing, there's nature. There's one bouncing the other, there's one the other.
Yeah, you have technological, then you have elemental, and then
exactly. You said it perfectly. But that was the second one. Third one, I actually wrote a college term paper on and got 100, and then did a midterm and turned my true story into a fictional story. So that was the perfect material to do it with. And I call it Small Town Strangest. I got 100, then 104 for turning it into a fictional story. And this is you remember one of our earlier episodes about synchronicity. That's the other thing. Perfect time to intervene. All of these events were synchronistic if I've never seen it.
Yeah.
throughout your whole day, every decision that you made, every second that you spent doing whatever, every decision that was made, whatever you were doing, activity throughout the day, it led to you seeing that UFO in that second time. And this one is the most amazing one. And I believe this was, human beings piloting this craft with anti-gravitic technology of some sort, I believe. I pulled up to my dad's at like 11:10 at night, and my cousin was with me. And with the top of my peripheral vision up here, I just stepped out of the car, and it was the night of a new moon. So it was just totally pitch black dark. And I just noticed something kind of hover over the top of me. Well, guess what? The website I told you to go to report your UFOs is right here. New Fork National UFO Reporting Center. You can report them by the state, wherever you live at. I actually wrote a report here for this such said report. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Many moons have gone by now. Trying to
But
find
the
it.
fact they have it on there, that's interesting.
That's what I like. You can go back, you can check up, like what went on, where. Trying to think of what year it was now. I think it's 10 or 11. Gosh, time goes by so quick. That's a nice thing about reporting it. It's just like a journal in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very interesting that they have it all like kind of itemized on that website.
I thought it was 10, 11, 12, 13. Need to find it. Having troubles finding it. It's Valentine. But anyhow, you can report your sightings here. And I did a report over this one. I'll just start telling you about it as I try to find it. Pulled up to my dad's, and this is as synchronistic as it gets. Get out of the car, and I see this huge triangular shaped craft, which ironically enough looked just like this, basically. And there's another one. Mine was rounded just like this. It had rounded tips. Crazy thing is my cousin and I both see it, and I said, Chris, look at that. Look at that. The only reason you could see it on the night of a new moon, because it was a black triangle, is that it had these dim little dome lights on each tip. And it was, this crazy thing is it was only about, 70 yards above our head. And it was only going about 3 miles an hour, and it didn't make a sound. It was heading east directly over our heads, just zooming silently over our heads. I walked underneath it and followed it into the neighbor's yard for a point. And all of a sudden, just something came over me while my cousin ran to the door scared. And he was just watching with his head poked out the window. So that's as synchronistic as it gets. Pull up at my dad's house at the exact second that things are going over at our heads and getting out of the cars. I noticed it going over our heads.
I mean, you were meant to see that because triangular craft, they're one of the more common ones, and the round ones people see. But the triangular ones can be a military group called Solar Warden, and they patrol the solar system. They have these. Some of them look like almost like flying aircraft carriers in space. Other ones are more triangular. And there are aliens that use triangular craft too, like some of the Pleiadian groups use triangular craft. But that one was more than like that. That feels like military. To me, I saw one like that in Lincoln as well when I was much younger. I was a teenager and saw these two fighter jets escorting a black triangle with red orbs underneath it towards the local military base.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they were moving slowly, but they were escorting this craft to a base. And what was happening is some people like to give a slow disclosure like that, get people used to seeing those forms. So they get people used to seeing round craft and triangular craft, so that it becomes like a normal thing in people's psyche, and it gets integrated. It's like, oh, that's another triangular craft. Eventually, people are going to look up and go, oh, there's another one. There's that belongs to that race. That belongs to that race. It's going to become a common thing after a while, from what I've been told anyway. As it gets slow dripped in like that. But you and I saw similar ones that. I would have to say my sighting was in the 90s, though. Like the mid 90s. I was about maybe 14, 15 when I saw that one.
And where were you living at in Lincoln?
Yeah, I was living in an area called Belmont. You know where Belmont is? That's the
Mm.
Starkweather murder
Hmm.
area. That's
That little gas station.
yeah, and it's basically like there's the old quick shop that was the crest where Starkweather murdered his first victim there.
It's
That area.
it's
And
funny you're talking about that because I was just saying we should open up that little Podunky gas station, turn it into like a little mini gas station, just a couple of pumps, but then have like just a tiny like 50s diner in there for like burgers, fries, and shakes to go. Just serve that. Kind of like a Five Guys.
Yeah,
But
that would go
keep it
well in a
simple.
neighborhood like that. Have it also UFO oriented too. Have
Oh
like
yeah, that would be sweet.
yeah,
That would
have
be
it UFO
sweet.
oriented. Yeah,
And have it
that
be known as like the Starkweather location.
yeah, have it be yeah, even call it
Yeah, I
like
hate to
Stark.
glorify like serial killers or anything like that, or murderers and pieces of crap. But
hmm Yeah,
because you
exactly.
know
But yeah,
what
that's
is
his.
it? You know what is a piece of crap? A piece
Huh.
of.
Yeah, yeah, that's yeah. You hate to glorify somebody like that, but yeah, he's famous for having been in that area. But that was a heavy UFO sighting area that I've been seeing things for years, and found out the Lincoln base before they supposedly quote unquote closed it. Even though my grandfather said they didn't really close it, they went underground. You saw UFO sightings all over the area, like on the intersection between Cornhusker and Superior, I believe, there by a grain elevator. My grandmother and I saw some hovering, like almost like herring jets that
Hmm.
were they're the hovering kind of jets, and they were going behind that big grain elevator. Nobody else saw it. Nobody else was pointing out. These were black colored ones that went behind the grain elevator and disappeared. My grandmother
Strange.
and I drove behind the grain elevator, and there was nothing but weeds back there. And this means they opened some kind of hatch, went down in and closed it, and then made it so the weeds were covered over again. And
Strange.
yeah, it was in that area by Cornhusker and Superior, in that generalized area where the big grain elevators are.
I always
Yeah.
think it's weird whenever they happen over a city like that, like right in the middle of a city like that, when you see
Mm-hmm.
activity, it just seems strange to me. It's almost hidden in plain sight in a way.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is, and nobody really cared about it. My
Oh,
grandmother and I were the only two that saw
yeah.
it. We went over to check it out. Wasn't We couldn't find it.
I
Yeah.
don't mean to be weird or anything, but talk about synchronicity. Right after I said that, I've been struggling to find my report. I look over and I see it.
Oh yeah,
uh-huh.
now you find it. Yeah, now you find it.
Here
Yeah.
we go. La, da, 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 boom. Here it is. But yeah, do your own report here. Like I said, it's newfork.org, New Fork, however you want to pronounce it, National UFO Reporting Center.org. You can go report your reports there. And like I said, what is this other than just a report database? It's a report database, but look at it. You can remember your report, you journal them. You can see what else is going on in your state, correlate it. I have another interesting story I can tell you when it comes to synchronicity. It wasn't a UFO sighting. But we'll get into that here in a little bit. At 11:15 p.m. on July 14, 2010. See, I reported it. That's where I always get confused because it happened on 2010, but I didn't report it till years later where I learned about this website. And learn about this through Peter Davenport runs it, and he does a short, tiny deal on Coast to Coast where he talks about UFOs. But I haven't heard him for a while, so I don't know if something happened to him or whatnot. But there's my report here. I'll say spare you the time because I already told you the story. But you got any other UFO sightings? I'll tell you my two most recent. The crazy thing is synchronistically, then you tell me yours and we'll save
Okay.
mine for a little intermission.
Okay.
Swap UFO stories here, intermix them. Let me get off of here too before I give away the rest. The crazy thing is you never know when they're going to happen. Like I said, they could happen out of the blue. They could happen anytime. Whenever they happen for me, I always end up questioning when my next one is. I'm ready for my next one. And just a couple months ago, I was telling a few people, Chris and I were reminiscing, I believe, a time. And I was just saying, I really want to see my next one. And, when am I going to have this next experience? Even in fact, a lot of times when I'm meditating or whatnot, I'll say, please just come, let me see. I just you want to
Mhm.
kind of prepping yourself, for what you might see, I guess, per se.
Mhm.
And like I said, like my most recent ones have come to fruition. You never know when they're going to pop out of the blue, and that just intermixes synchronicity as well. But what are some other UFOs that you has seen, or alien experiences you've had?
Well, yeah, there's that could probably fill a library with what
I know that
that's
can, but I guess a
yeah.
prominent one, a prominent,
Well, this one,
event.
some prominent ones that one of them was, of course, that triangle that I mentioned a little bit ago, and there were a couple really good prominent ones. They were both here in Prescott when we got here. One, I was walking over to from my mother's area in Prescott Canyon Estates. It's a 55 and up, community that's in there, and I had a workshop next door in the U-Haul that's next door to the housing complex. And I was walking over there, almost out of the neighborhood, and I see a cigar-shaped craft in the sky, big white. It was like just like Snow White craft, and it looked like what I thought were windows on the side, but they were just divots in the side. It was just the shadow was hitting it where it looked like windows. And
Hmm.
what I came to find out that was a hybridized government craft with some alien technology, and they use it for shipping stuff.
Hmm.
It's a use it for like how we regard semi trucks or trains or something like that Mm.
You kind of reminded me. Have you ever heard of that one conspiracy? I think I had a coworker, or was it somebody random I was talking to? I can't remember now, but they kind of mentioned. I believe I've heard something about it before, but apparently there's a underground system that like connects U.S. and London, and
Yeah, there's an
underneath the
underground train
ocean.
and tram system that connects everything, and portal network and everything that connects the entire globe. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
that's true. Yeah,
How?
yeah,
How? Just think of an inner world.
yeah. There is a train network, and this I found out this craft is going from
Jules
Alaska.
Verne would be happy. Jules Verne
Yeah,
would
he
be
would.
happy.
Yeah, with Agartha, with like Agartha in the Inner Earth. Yeah, he nailed that dead to rights. With this, though, you have a tram system that goes all the way up to the bases in Alaska, all the way down here to Arizona, and it cuts clear through the underground, and then you have train in these trains. Though they have whole train depots. This will be a very handy infrastructure when the time comes, where when it's all opened up, where there's an entire tram system of like if you would go to a subway or if you'd go to a train station, it's set up exactly like that. But since it's underground, people would kind of get depressed because it's kind of dark. So they have these windows on the side that make it look like you are seeing like real trees and stuff like that. It's like a holographic type of setup with screens along the side. But when you get up above ground again, there's an area where I think they have to go above ground up towards Alaska, where they have some train yards that are above. Then if they have to do it, they switch it and they bring it up and over. But
Hmm.
it's mostly underground. Now this ship was going the same route from Alaska to here, and some may think, oh, they may not need that, but at times they do to be able to drop off things at bases and stuff like that. This craft wasn't supposed to be seen. I found out the captain of this vessel was making it so that he could show the craft to people, but just kind of go under the guise of like, oops, it was Earth magnetic field. Oops, there was some other weird energy field that made me visible for a second. Earth does that anyway because there's so many different energy fields and magnetic fluctuations and everything. It's chaotic for ships here because of Earth is extremely unique in that area. We're on what's known as a temporal nexus point, dimensional nexus point, where the craft can't navigate it as easily. That's why they crash all the time, because portals will end up in one area or another, and it's chaos at the moment with that, with the different Earth shifting going on at the moment. But this craft would go from one end to the other, just dropping things off at the different bases along the coastline.
I'm
And
seeing that they want to achieve supersonic craft by like 2035. There's
yeah,
something that
they already have things of that nature. They have they even have flying cars, believe it or not, little hover cars like you see also in Star Wars with the hover.
oh
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, they have that too. And what was also interesting was there was another. incident, let's just say, that we had, or I don't want to say incident, it usually implies something bad, but this I was standing outside in the backyard at my mother's place still, and I was outside with Sammy, their dog, and I just happened to look up. I had this compulsion to look up, like when I took that photograph in Lincoln, looked up, and there was a string of like little light orbs that went along the sky, and there was one bright one sitting next to them, and they were going in opposite directions. And I heard in my head, I heard this like general, like almost like telepathic broadcast that was taking place. I heard, "Do not be afraid, we are your friends and allies." And they kept repeating that on a telepathic wavelength. And I knew that one was alien because they were broadcasting on a particular frequency that the government tends not to use. So,
and see, like we've reminisced before, some of these events that I've had, and these most two, especially with it's the thoughts that come with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes the stories even more amazing. And that's what I want you to try to absorb and pay attention to. Or if you've had a similar experience, realize that. So my two most recent ones, one happened about 5 weeks ago now. Ironically enough, I usually work second shift, and I was working day shift and ended up getting off work early. I wish I would have taken a picture of the initial cloud that I had seen. When I left, I was about 20 miles away, but I seen this reverse shaped pyramidal cloud that was hovering over what looked to be around the area where I lived. I couldn't tell, but I ended up, just kind of saying, okay, whatever. It's kind of stormy that day anyhow. And got home. Well, we go up for a walk to grab a bite to eat at the pub. And off behind the pub, there's like this weird kind of trickly cloud. And I'll try to send you these pictures, and maybe you can input them and show them. I also took a video of the sighting later on, but I took a picture of this cloud, and God is my witness with the people that were beside me. I said, what the hell's going on here? A UFO invasion? And I said that, and kind of mildly thinking that with the weird cloud I had seen earlier, and this cloud that I seen trickling down, hanging, and I'm not an atmospheric weather expert, I'm sure it was a normal cloud, but it was a strange one at that. And just with what happened later made it even stranger. We're in there for about 2 hours and 45 minutes and come back out, and it looks like Swarm City. I mean, I think they were UFOs, but there's ungodly amounts. And I took a video of it. There's probably 3 or 4 military craft hovering all over there. I'm so excited because with what I said earlier, I joked about there being a UFO invasion. We come out and there's a swarm of what looked to be like UFOs. I can identify them, or UAP or ZYXCBA, whatever terminology.
Whatever the hell they want to call it now.
Yeah, to confuse people. And it's crazy. I was all excited, thinking that the world's coming to an end after what we were saying, And I should have investigated it more, but I had an iRacing event I had to make and had to come home. But just like that, come home for, I don't know, 10 minutes. And when we seen the sighting, there had to have been I estimate probably 40 to 70 hovering around all this tiny town here. I mean, engulf the town. And there, like I said, 45 centimeters is probably a good estimate, alongside 4 or 5 larger military looking craft in different directions around.
Mm-hmm. What they do, and it's
no, real quick, and I should investigate more, but like I said, I had to make this event that I was scheduled for, but during intermixing the practice and whatnot, it wouldn't have been 12 minutes from the time I walked through the door to the time I walked back out to check things while I was waiting for things to load up and go to the next session on my race event. I went back out, like I said, 10 minutes, 12, 13 minutes later, no longer than that. And everything was gone. Silent night. And
Wow.
And like you were saying, it was about the quick cleanup possibly.
Yeah, this was a very interesting event. What you were being shown was not only do ships come in the forms of clouds, which real recently most recent UFO event we had here in this neighborhood is I took a picture of a double cloud that was a spaceship that was hiding as a cloud. I'll include that in here as well.
Interesting.
But what they do is they hide in the form of a cloud so they can hover in places or fluctuate. And we even saw a show yesterday where there was a UFO in a fluctuating cloud.
And I've always wondered that too. Can they mimic clouds and like camouflage, like chameleons? Look at chameleons. They can camouflage themselves. And who's to say that UFOs can't? But go ahead. It just felt perfect timing to plug that.
Oh yeah, they do all the time. It's like, especially those lenticular clouds where they're kind of elongated like that. And they'll hide in like these, sometimes even triangular shaped clouds or like dome shaped clouds. I've seen this. What was going on? What were you seeing with the military? Is they were trying to get it out of the area because it was being seen. Whoever was on that ship, whoever the aliens were on that ship, I'm sensing they were benevolent and they were trying to get you to see who they were because you put the call out there to see something. So therefore, they were making it possible, but the military was telling them, no, back off, back off. And what was going on, if that ship had crashed or something like that, there would have been a military team on the ground collecting all the stuff, cataloging it like forensic teams and stuff like that. They would have cleaned it all up in a matter of a couple of hours. What they were more than likely doing with all the drones is they were more than likely scanning the ground to see if those aliens dropped anything on the ground and scanning the skies to see if since those aliens were screwing around anyway, getting you to see them. They were more than likely, the government was trying to say, get the hell out of this area. You're being seen, And,
I tell you what, I was going to start walking the doggy late at night, but it's kind of my two most recent events have kind of got me a little. I don't think I can run as fast as a UFO can fly.
Yeah, exactly. That thing was huge. I sense that thing was humongous. So it was humongous. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then this one, the most recent one, yours happened, would have been 10 days ago now. On my way back home, mile marker 253, just north of Anselmo, Myrna, Nebraska. My wife is looking up ahead, and all of a sudden, once again, it's the thought forms that come on. Middle, 7:50. It's completely pitch black dark now at this point in the middle of nowhere, sand hills, no light pollution. Ironically enough, like this map, this background you see behind us, you see that's what the nighttime sky looks like out there, almost, And ironically enough, I don't see a lot of stars in the sky, and it's just completely pitch black dark. And all of a sudden, there's stars way up high, but on the horizon, there really isn't a lot yet. And she all of a sudden gets my attention and goes, hey. And all of a sudden, when she does that, my initial thought is she sees a UFO. That was my initial thought inside my head. And then she goes, is that the Big Dipper? And I was like, oh, yeah. 2 seconds. I swear to you, as God is my witness, 2 seconds after that, this like reverse firework, brightly colored UFO. There's us, our vehicle. Then there's another vehicle in front of us about 100 yards. And then about another 100 yards in front of that vehicle. So about 200 yards in front of us. And then about 100 yards up in the sky. It comes out of the blue like a thief in the night, in the nighttime sky. This light comes out of nowhere. About 100 yards up in the sky. It looks like a reverse firework. Brightly green, blue, and white, or kind of, neon color, like the star behind us, like a neon bright color, bluish, green, bright white hue, translucent between those colors, comes out of nowhere, blinks, all those colors, shoots straight down to the ground and vanishes in front of us. And then immediately later on, I got a video of this. I don't know if I'm freaking out or being paranoid, but I need to go back to a star chart. Just like this brightest star behind us on this map up here. I see something like that after we've seen that weird UFO shoot to the ground. And there's no other stars around in the horizon that you see. It's just this bright white, bright orb light that you can't tell if it's moving or not. And I ain't stopping after we've seen that. The car in front of us starts taking off like a bat out of hell because they're scared of what they've seen. And it had me a little unnerved too, completely in the middle of nowhere after seeing that. No way of explaining it. Strange light. That's the weirdest light UFO that I've ever seen. And I still need to do my most recent reports, but we all get busy. And lose track of time. But I want to do those reports on that New Fork website. And that's what I find interesting too about that website. Maybe somebody else seen it and they did a report, possibly, then you have correlating evidence as far as I'm concerned, or
Yeah,
correlating experience.
especially if that couple came forward that was in the car ahead of you, which
They
is more
took off
likely.
like a bat out of hell. I mean, late at night there, la-di-da, everybody speeds. We were probably going speed limit 65. We were probably going 72. That car in front of us is probably going 73. They just passed us not too long ago, not much faster than me. But after that, I didn't see I think I slowed down maybe about 5 miles an hour just out of curiosity, trying to record and look and see and do.
Mhm.
But they took off like a bat out of hell, and I didn't see their tail lights 10 minutes later. So,
Yeah, this group, whoever this was, I sense it was a group that was actually of doing that, because again, you wanted to see more different types of things, and I'm just seeing how this was just raining down and going into the ground. This could have been alien. This could have been an inner Earth group doing this as well, because they have high technology on the inner hollow Earth. I feel this was a hollow or a Garthan hollow Earth group that was doing this, that you were just getting a taste of like who was around. Like the one you were mentioning before with the orbs in the tree, that's like fairies, elementals, beings of that nature. That's where some of the orbs come from as well. Some of them are miniature spaceships. The one you saw where they did this like spectacular light show like that, somebody was definitely trying to get your attention, and they just happened to get the attention of the people in front of you. But it was but yeah, this
it
I
got
feel
my
was
attention too right away. See, that's a weird thing, and this is the prime synchronicity experience as well. This one, and then that one I wrote the college term paper over, that's just the best synchronicity. And speaking of the devil, that one that I wrote the college term paper over really was the icing on the cake. And I had a shadow person experience around the same time that I had that experience as well.
Mhm.
So all these in combination, along with losing my mom as well and having some weird spiritual experiences, they all culminated at the same time together. That's what was kind of sort of a
It
deal.
all came together as one big success
Yeah, I
synchronicity.
guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, sort of a deal. And but this one was as synchronistic as it gets. I had to work that day. I get off work early, then I have a 4 hour and 35-minute car ride, or drive. And so taking care of all the dogs, packing up, stopping at the store an hour into the trip to get some supplies, filling up, picking a few things up. Out of all the seconds we spent at different stoplights and stop signs, then the thought forms that I had right before we seen that UFO, and her getting my attention right at that moment in time for us both to look up before we seen it. All these things culminated to lead up to that second point in time, and that's what I find exactly strange about it.
Oh yeah,
And
there are aliens also that will help people in instances of trouble as well, and also help with certain synchronicities as well, where they will guide people away from a danger zone. Some people think that's just angelic, and also just spirit. But there are aliens that'll telepathically guide you away from something too. That if they want to help you or something like that, they'll try to move you away from something. But in this was a mix between or I shouldn't say between, just two things. You had like elemental going on. You had spirit, which would be like your mother, all of them doing that. And you had spirit folk, and then you also had other alien groups and stuff like that to get you to see the entirety of the picture going on. That's essentially what the whole of the synchronicity was there. It's the you were seeing basically every component that was in play out there, from military to spirit to elemental to alien. You were seeing all of the above, essentially. You're a crash course in the entire like glossary or dictionary of what was going on was essentially what it was in one group of instances like that. I found that interesting. Somebody's giving you a crash course, and this may be happening for any of our viewers too, where you're getting basically a crash course in what's going on out there in the universe, and in the spirit realm and elemental realms and all this other stuff. And I always find that very
the
interesting.
crazy
There's also
realms.
light ships too, huh?
Oh, talk about craziness! The crazy realms. Each one of them are equally crazy. It
Mm-hmm.
seems
Oh, each one, yeah.
intense.
Each one has a complex set of dynamics to it, and also you have light ships too. There's also these tubular like light ships that move kind of like a snake.
Oh yeah, those are freaky. I've seen some videos
Yeah.
of those. And then
Yeah.
they leave like this translucent trail.
Yeah, they're spaceships, but they have an entire crew on them. They could have 20,000 beings or more crammed onto these ships, and they know how to shrink them. Kind of like in Doctor Who, where he says it's bigger on the inside in the TARDIS, but he can shrink the TARDIS down to maybe the size of a golf ball if he wanted to on the outside. That's essentially what they're doing. There's a whole crew in there, and there's also these light orbital ships that fly around too with whole crews in them. That's why people see little beings sitting in the center of them. Either that, or it's a fairy or elemental fae that's sitting in the center of one too. It's hard to differentiate because they kind of look all similar to one another, but but you have to go based on feel. You have to kind of go based on feel, whether it feels good or not, whether it's benevolent or not. But you can also differentiate whether something is nature-based or purely technologically based as well. It has a different feel to it. It has something that's more like Star Trek-y feel if it's the technology feel. And that's the term I can use. But then the elemental one, you see like even the trees move with it. You can even feel the wind move around with it and everything. And it's more of an elementally based. Sasquatch uses that technique too, but they use both. There are forest people that actually get into the orbs and fly away. Some of them are going into a spaceship with other beings because some of them are spacefaring ones, not just tribal ones. And then you have ones that can actually morph into the energetic form if it's the older type, like the older elder class. We call them Anakam elder class types, but that can actually shift into that form. Some people think they're all shifting that form, but a lot of them are going into the little spaceships or these wave-like ones and disappearing. That's what people are seeing when they see that happen. And that's elemental and technological brought together there.
Now, how do you feel about the connection between Bigfoot and UFOs and aliens and sightings?
At first, it had me concerned at first because there were similar techniques being shown, like say with the Greys and with the Sasquatch. But then I realized this technology and all this has been shared amongst multiple species in the universe. Everybody trades with everybody. Everybody's a mix of everything. So that alleviated the concern there. But yeah, I find it interesting. There is an elder class of Sasquatch that came from the Pleiades a long time ago before they came here. And they came in spaceships. They came in light orbs, things of that nature. And eventually their descendants are some of the ones we are seeing, like some of the Sasquatch, some of the ones leaving the X sticks and the ones we gift to and the ones that do the hand signs and all that are their descendant lineage. And some of them came around in the times of Atlantis prior to Atlantis's destruction. And that's also where you get some of the Dogman reports too. There were some highly advanced technological ones in the times of in the Osiris period of Egypt, like Anubis and stuff like that. They eventually, their descendant lineages, some of them de-evolved, and then now are having to re-evolve out of it. So that's why you have these different types. That's why some people are seeing more tribal, and some people are seeing more technologically based. So there's several groups you're dealing with here. And Inner Earth, like what I was telling you before, with that big blast, that was of light. That was an Inner Earth group basically showing themselves to you. That's essentially what it was. High technology in the Hollow Earth, extremely high technology, and they can do the whole colored orbital thing where they can go into the ground like that. I've heard reports like that from people that I've bilocated to see what this thing was, and it was always an Inner Earth group when I've heard things like that. So, or some elemental groups. We have contact with elementals on a regular basis all the time. Fairy groups, tree dryads. And I've seen lights coming in and out of the trees as well. When they want to communicate, you see this plume coming out, and the trees themselves will even speak to you. The consciousness of forests and trees will even speak to you. And that's also when you go out into the forest. And
I've seen experiments to where like plants and things will respond. I seen one gal and a gal and a guy, I forget their names now, but I know that they had done an experiment to where they tested out plants and they played like classic orchestral style music and then like heavy metal music, and the plants that had the kinder music were healthier. And not correlating that because you can enjoy metal music if you're human, but for plants, their frequency and everything that they're all about. It just goes to show that maybe plants possibly have a form of, I don't know if you want to call it emotion, but
Yeah, it's an elemental consciousness. We call it the dryadic consciousness because they're interlinked together. Now, there's some trees that the ones that you see sending the orbs out and stuff, usually like that, are a bigger, like mother or father type of dryad that, creates other ones. Like on a property in California, a friend of ours, Viking, lives on. He has a big redwood on his property, a huge sequoia tree. This thing has a consciousness all its own and seems to direct the dryadic energy or the nature energy for the area. And a real interesting story about this. I know it deviated from the UFO topic, but this was an interesting set of synchronicities that happened to us a while back, where I had a read with somebody who had a guide that called himself Hyperion, and I'm thinking this name sounds familiar. Well, then there was a synchronicity that came up on an episode of Jeopardy my mother was watching one time, where Hyperion's name was mentioned, and they called him the Titan King of ancient Greece. And I'm thinking, okay, this may be an Agarthan clan or something like this. Years later, what came up on Facebook was when Hyperion was trying to communicate with me again. He said he kept trying to tell me he was in Northern California and that he was famous to the human population. I'm thinking, okay, what's this? This article came up on Facebook about the tallest tree in the world, and they called him Hyperion. And it was a sequoia tree that was the largest one in the world, and it was in Northern California. And I was like, this has got to be him embodied in a dryadic form in some way. He had to have changed since maybe ancient time. And I went and looked it up, and it was actually who was communicating with me that whole time. And it was a tree so massive that he could send out his energetic waves to communicate in all directions. And essentially in ancient Greece, he was called the king of the Titans. But essentially, Titans were nature, but some of them were more Viking-like, but some of them were a lot of elemental and nature beings. And so that fit with that tree. But he would send out beams of light and all this other stuff. He's famous for actually drawing people to him, and he even has like almost like a worship type of cult type following, and where people leave gifts for him and all this other stuff under his trunk. And I saw this. I'm thinking, okay, this goes along lines with the elemental side of things. He's obviously elemental, so and he's either utilizing the tree to do this, or he is the tree. Or he became it after a while. He shifted and became it after thousands of years. But that's how old the tree was. It was on the order of like tens of thousands of years, which would have fit the time frame where some of these other legends were taking place. So, but I found that very interesting. But he kind of fit the realm of originally galactic elemental, and then fell into purely elemental after a while. So that's where that bridge, sometimes the bridge gap is met. There's also other beings, ETs I've run into, some of which have channeled on this show before, where they're part elemental, part galactic. It's like the fusion between the two seems to be very, very important. Earthly and space combined. Very much like the ancient Greek story of Gaia and Uranus coming together to form aspects of the Earth, the grid of the Earth. So it kind of goes along with those lines. And it seems that fusion is very, very important to galactic beings out there wanting to attain codes and codexes to be able to evolve themselves. And it seems to be very important to them that they have some fusion with the Earth, have some connection with the Earth in some way. And I've run into that. So you're seeing a mixture of a lot of these different things, from spirit to elemental to alien. And I find that very fascinating when I see all these mixes, because it's like Star Trek, where you see all these blending, the mixes of different beings. And some people try to attribute a species to a UFO type. And you can't really do that anymore, because all the species have shared with each other. They've all traded with each other in some fashion. Now, it used to be where triangular meant just government or Pleiadian type of groups and stuff like that, which it still holds. Like with Valiant Thor and the Venusian colonies, they use round and triangular craft too. Our nearest neighbor with one of our nearest ET neighbors is Venus. And they have a series of beings that live in their own inner Agartha that I communicated with them before. They have triangular and round craft. They have the classic saucer types and moon type, like crescent moon types as well. And that's where Roddenberry got the idea for Star Trek with the uniforms, with the triangular shape. It's from with the classic Star Trek look. Is from the Venusian colonies. That's where Roddenberry got that from. Star Trek would be a program all by itself, a series of them. It would be too large. But, the synchronicities with Star Trek alone. But that's I know that was a little long-winded, but that's
that's fine. It all comes back around. It wasn't too off topic, because going back to plants, I find it interesting where certain UFOs, like crop circles, damaging plants, certain UFOs landing, and the radiation destroys the ground from being able to grow anything, like the Rendlesham Forest area and several other radiation spots. And it's just a fascinating field with everything that is abound in it. And I want to show you a quick interview of the recent revelations of the ATIP programs of Luis Elizondo. He's just going over he's in an interview here, and he's speaking about what these sightings are probably not. And he just said they're probably not a form of technology that we're using, and then he elaborates off of it.
Special technology that has been implemented, and we've been just been very careless about it. And I think that argument was finally put to bed this week. So that really only leaves two other options, and that's, again, it's foreign adversarial, or it's something quite different. And I think we're now beginning to learn, as we've heard from the Director of National Intelligence, I can certainly tell you from my experience, that we're pretty confident that it's not Russian or Chinese technology. There's several reasons for that if you like, I'm more than happy to go into.
Yeah, actually, could you go into that? I know you've explained it in previous interviews, but these sightings have happened for the past 70 years. And I know you've said before that you didn't think it was possible for one of our foreign adversaries, who have been helpful actually in providing information on this issue, would be capable of keeping something.
Nice liquor cabinet there, gal.
Is that accurate?
That's precisely one of the counter arguments. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, as of today, we had an announcement by a former Director of National Intelligence, Ratcliffe, who said this isn't Russian technology. And as we know, during Glasnost and the fall of the Berlin Wall, there was this 5-year romance period, if you will, between the United States and Russia, where we began really sharing a lot of information. And a lot of their, ironically enough, a lot of their UFO information wound up in our hands. And it turns out that they were experiencing the exact same issues from a UFO or a UAP issue perspective that we were. So if you look at really the timelines here.
So who the hell is doing it?
You know, it's looking increasingly less likely that this is some sort of Russian technology. So that really leaves China. And some of these reports, you're absolutely correct, Jackie, they go back into the early 1950s and even earlier. And so what that says is that you have pilots, whether we're describing what we call a white flying Tic Tac or a white flying butane tank in the 1950s, or a white flying lozenge, if you will, they're all describing the exact same vehicle, craft, if you will, doing exactly the same thing, performing in ways well beyond our current capabilities. And if you look at that from a temporal perspective, from a time perspective, it simply doesn't make sense that China back in 1950 would have this beyond next generation technology, mastered it, is able to fly it at will anywhere it wants on the face of the planet. And the last 70 years, despite the billions of dollars we put into our intelligence community infrastructure and architecture, it has managed to evade us. In fact, China is a country that has stolen quite a bit, spends a lot of time stealing technology from us. And so one has to ask the question that if really a country had this technology, would it be necessary to steal, much more basic technology from another country? Furthermore, if you had this type of technology, you probably wouldn't need to invest so much in military, because you had this, if you will, checkmate type technology or capability where everything else now becomes obsolete. And so this goes to your last part of your question. Do I feel or do I believe this is, quote, extraterrestrial? Let me be very careful before I answer that by saying, at the end of the day, Jackie, it doesn't matter what I think or what I believe. What matters is what the data and the facts tell us. And from that perspective, it's very important that I had a very simple job, and that is to collect the truth and speak the truth. That's it. Very much as an investigator, which I used to be, we applied
I can't answer the question because I can't say that I definitively do. However, I'm going to insinuate that they probably are. However, the evidence needs to prove it furthermore.
Yes, yeah, I know. That gets frustrating when people say that because they're saving face at that point. But what he was also saying wasn't too far off the mark. Germany, back in that time frame, did attain that level of technology. They did attain this. So saying China has it, yeah, are the aliens trying to basically turn China into their army like they did the Nazis? Yeah. What happened back in the 40s, 30s and 40s is Nazi Germany, before Nazi Germany really unified. This is how Hitler unified Germany in 4 short years. He had help from a couple of alien races that shared that ideal, the white race ideal. One was from Cassiopeia. They had like this Persian look to them, that they've been here since around ancient times. That's where you got the word Aryan from, Aryan race. It came from the Persian language. And that's where the swastika came from as well. Then you have the Draco reptilians, which also, are extremely brutal. They're the satanic type of demons everybody knows them to be. Then you have the ancient Orions, which were, or Fomorian look, if you want to go with the Celtic word for it. And they, along with all 3 of these groups, aided the Nazis in becoming an extremely technological superpower. This is why other aliens have gotten involved, good ones. That have helped people out. They're trying to balance it out so that the Germans didn't take over the entire planet as one white race. Essentially, the Germans went out into the system, the moon, Ceres, and Mars, and that's where they reside to this day right now. But they became a highly technological country very, very quickly, and that's where you get the Nazi Bellcraft from. There's a famous picture. If I can find it, I'll include it in the video, where there are these UFOs are flying over the Capitol in the 50s.
Oh, yeah.
And somebody got a reel of it, and that's essentially saying the Nazis are saying, now we rule you, essentially. And they never really lost the Second World War because of that.
I heard that Nazi Bellcraft ran on a form of red mercury.
Yeah, it was essentially, that Bellcraft actually traveled through time. That particular bell traveled through time and ended up in Pennsylvania later on in history, and that's the Kecksburg, Pennsylvania incident. If you look that up, it traveled through a wormhole. See, they were experimenting with wormhole technology to try to leave the planet, and that's where the Roswell crash came from. It was one of their bigger bell craft. They had the bell shape for a lot of their craft, essentially, and they were testing wormhole technology, but they were testing it on clones that the aliens were helping them make, but they looked really weird. They looked alien. That's why aliens weren't involved in Roswell's alien technology. What happened was when they tried to open the wormhole up, or try to link the wormhole to wherever they wanted the craft to go, it would shred it like just confetti. And that's why that crashed over Roswell. It shredded it like confetti. And that was Nazi activity. People don't understand this part. The Ebens and the Greys did not have a stake in the Roswell incident. That was Nazi Germany right there. This is something that people don't, they get distracted by the alien thing, and which the aliens were involved in creating some of the story behind it, but it was a Nazi Bellcraft that shredded over that rancher's property. And that when they found the beings there, these were clones that are artificially created life forms that the Nazis and the aliens had created together. That's what they found there. And these were innocent beings that were terrified of they had souls, and they were terrified of what happened. I've even come across ghosts from some of those Nazi experiments. And that's why also you had figures like Dr. Mengele and them trying to combine DNAs. Where'd they get that from? They got that from the negative aliens. And this is what took place over Roswell. And people get mad at me when I say that because they want to have the alien thing involved. It's like, no, this was purely Nazi Germany that did this. This was not alien except for those that supplied the cloning technology and the spatial technology. Eventually they succeeded, left the planet, and now they're on Mars as a breakaway civilization, Ceres and the moon. They have their own base on the moon that looks like a swastika on the backside. There's an American base and there's a Nazi base there. The American base is trying to keep the Nazi base in check there. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, that's the basically the history in a nutshell, right there. But that's what happened with that. People don't realize the link between them and Roswell, and that's the link between them and Roswell right there. No,
that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, when we found that out, I was thinking, oh man, some of that was a big ruse. And we came to find out, doing more research, that it was the Nazis that did the Roswell incident. It's 47.
Sounds aligning. Yeah.
Yeah, it lines. It goes from 45 was the end of the war. They faked basically their own demise essentially, and 47 is when the Roswell craft. See, they were testing the portal technology to try to leave the planet. See, they couldn't do it yet, and so eventually they got to Mars. Somebody helped them out, and they got to Mars. Because they were this close to being caught. And then you had an operation called Operation High Jump, where our forces with Admiral Byrd went down to Antarctica, found superior Nazi forces, and the Nazis basically handed their ass to them down there because of the superior alien tech. See, and it was shortly thereafter is when they were able to.
Didn't he say that he seen a big hole in the ground too?
Yeah, that was to Agartha. That was a passage to Agartha when he flew originally over that. And because he saw things like dinosaur forms, woolly mammoths, things of that nature when he went through that hole. So
crazy.
And, but that was the Nazi history essentially in a nutshell in that one spot. But we did a lot of research on that and saw the synchronicities line up with that. But not getting too far off marker. But this could be the part in the show where we bring somebody through to talk about this. I've been hearing somebody very antsy to talk about this.
Sure, come on through, and then we can end the show with a big shebang.
Yeah. All right. Okay. There's a ton of you here. So who is it? There's like 3 groups here. So it's like including Isaac. So I'm not sure what individual is going to talk here. So let me see. Okay. Yes. There's a Venusian group here. There's and 2 Cassiopeian groups here. So it's like you have the Venusian colonies that are in these like unitard type uniforms that they look like something off of Star Trek, but a one-piece deal with the symbol on the side where you see that triangle. And then you have the Mosen, which they look like they've been through World War I, World War II. The uniforms. They were the ones that helped us out against the Germans, and helped America and Britain against the Nazis at the time. They helped build some of our technological base up slightly, so we had an advanced position too. And then you have the Saranan people, which are all these groups are fantastic. I could vouch for the representatives that I'm seeing here. They've been very, very kind to us. So
good.
And the 2, one of them is somebody who's been on the shows before. Her name's Elena.
Oh yeah.
And she and her lady friend are here a lot. So
nice.
They come by, stop by constantly. So it's these are one of the Elena's one of the only people I've physically laid eyes on. So alien wise. So nice. Let me see here. Okay, Elena, did you want to come through? Okay, I need to vet you one more time. Can you step in the sunlight, please? Thank you. All right, there we are. Sometimes you have to test with sunlight, hard space. You have to audit them in some way because you don't want to bring a negative being in. So, and I can feel the overwhelming love coming from this group. So it's that's good. All right, that's proof enough right there. So you can feel it. You feel it with their intentions. So
nice.
Oh, they always want me to take the hat off because I have a ring of shungite around it. It protects my head from stray waves, but at the same time, it can disrupt the channel too. So let me see here. Of course, I have a bald spot. Thank you. All right, thank you. Thank you guys for making me take that off. Okay, let me see. When I got ill recently, there was some hair that disappeared or something. Okay, that looked creepy, but okay. All right. Yeah, that's really strange. Folks, this is also what I block from with the shungite. I block EMF waves that cause things like this. So, all right, Elena, yes, thank you for making me look creepy on camera. Thank you. All right, they did that intentionally. So, okay. All right, okay. Whew. Oh, you're coming in strong. You must have a time limit here. Okay, let me see here. Yeah, they usually have a conduit where it slowly closes. I call it like a cone type shape, that it slowly closes like this. And if they're coming through with such mass like this, they're trying to keep the conduit open. So, which it's like a clock that it closes and eventually implodes and closes on its own like that. But that's how beings communicate like that. So let's see here. Okay, Elena. Yes, benevolent Elena. Yes. All right. Through the crystal, not my brain. Okay, there we go. They like to try to go in the brain like this sometimes, and I have a big crystal laying down here that I arc it through, so it's less strenuous on me. So, yes, indeed, everyone. Yes, this is Elena. This is an interesting subject given the time of year, where between Halloween and your winter solstice, there are the most sightings that take place at any other time of your year. Because you call it the thinning of the veil, and that is an apt description. But at the same time, your magnetic and energetic fluctuations on the Earth tend to be far more rapid at this time of the year, very much like hitting the rapids of a river. And within that, some craft become more visible because of these rapid-like energies. Very much like if you were caught in the rapids, you would appear more pronounced while floating in the water. This is essentially what is taking place here. Some beings like to use that as an excuse to become visible, like they did to yourself, Aubrey. These are times where some of these beings tend to pull what he likes to call the oops card, where they act like it's an accident. And the military caught on in that one incident where you spotted them. And that particular craft that they were attempting to reveal themselves were actually variations and groups of our own people, which we look exactly like yourselves, just a difference in the iris and the pupil, and a mix between other Cassiopean and some different Pleiadian mixtures that were on that particular vessel that particular night. And the military was less than enthused about us manifesting within even the night like that. The other one, he was correct with the shower of light. That wasn't a Garthan group or inner Earth group that was attempting to show themselves to you. They are partially elemental and partially galactic. They have a mix of groups that exist down there, from elven types to cat beings to other more benevolent lizard types to malevolent lizard types and malevolent elven and Syrian types that are down there, and all in between. The UFOs that are being spotted more and more, a lot of them are your own government attempting to utilize the slow drip disclosure method to show you, as he said, to get people used to it. Some are accidents, some are portrayed as accidents, some are intentional by some of your more white hat military groups. Other aliens are playing along with this, such as your Venusian colonies, whereas they are slow drifting different information into your academic areas, governmental, political, and religious areas. This has been going on in your society for some time with them. Other groups prefer quicker methods by just showing themselves. Other ones prefer, like ourselves, to aid and gain friendships as we go along. This is our style. And other groups just merely want to trade with you for more financial type beneficial trade methods. It runs the gambit of what is out there. And the craft also run the gambit. Our types of craft can run from cigar shape all the way to round and triangular. All technologies have been traded, as he said, out there to other races. But some races attribute specific types like spheroid types, even though it's the most efficient form. Garthans will use it, and also some of your negative, as you would say, soul-sucking aliens from Orion tend to use these as well. But your forest people also tend to use the little spheroid ships. Then you have crews of beings that fly in those light tubular ships. Their purpose is slightly more, as you would say, between malevolent at times and neutral because of the fact that they regard you more as zoo animals, and they will basically take a tour through your neighborhoods and try to somewhat experiment on you in some ways. Some grays, as you would call them to be, Zetas and Orions, tend to fly within these as well. So it's a mixed bag of what you have out there. So at this time, I will go into questions if you like.
Elena, hello. Thank you for popping through.
Thank you.
Please, can you go into detail about something like you're seeing on screen right now? This helicopter hieroglyph, ancient depictions of such said UFOs. Now, many archaeologists claim that these are mistakes, that they've been hieroglyphs that have been rewritten and written over and things along that line, that they're pareidolias. However, to me, that they're all on one section, I find that hard to believe that's not something more interesting than just a pareidolia. Can you dive into some of these ancient depictions and ancient such said related UFO topics, and
yes,
describe them
indeed.
for some of us?
Yes, indeed. In that particular instance with the helicopter form, that was a time travel incident, you see, where beings would go ahead and look at things on their timeline and display them on stone forms. Now, in regards to ancient Egypt, that was your origin of your Cabal 13 families, you see. Prior to that, you had different, like the Osiris and the Isis lines that eventually became your Cabal 13 families, or at least of the Rothschild family in particular. Some of these instances were also created through time travel capabilities, such as your Orion faction. This gets into something more complicated, you see. The Orions, the negative Orions, or the dark Orions, you like to call them, or Fomorian types, they ripped across your space-time 500,000 of your years ago, invading this star system and destroying the planet you know of as Asgard or Maldek, causing the Ragnarok in your Norse mythology. Within that time frame, you see, they divided them and disseminated down into multiple time frames to try to see the entirety of the Earth history and measure it, and measure each soul as it went through its history, so that a singular timeline could be secured for them, you see, to be able to create a new version of their home that they had lost, you see, in a different parallel universe. In this, some of these depictions through history were depicted in ancient times. The time flow went the other direction, you see, from your modern day, let's say your helicopters, to that depiction on the Egyptian obelisk and the temple, you see. This was not necessarily a mistake, as they say. Also, people were seeing ahead as well, and bilocating and dimensionally looking ahead through time. Humans were taught how to do this. From the times of Atlantis, there were also other people, and I use this term lightly, that were there, these ladies that would dimensionally travel and look ahead. This also involved what you call the crystal skulls, and this as a conduit. This also involved the Orions coming across the threshold and destroying Atlantis at that time in history. This involved ancient Egypt later. Now, the pyramids themselves are one of the more interesting parts of this, whereas they were actually originally energy power plants or gatherers. Later on, your Orion faction attempted to align that with Orion and collect energy from Earth for their very own constructs in Orion. Humans eventually downgraded in their scientific thinking and attempted to turn it into a more hydrogen-based, scientifically based energy plant. This went awry, and there was a great explosion as a result later on in your history. But back to these time travel instances, your famous character in history, Leonardo da Vinci, is famous for traveling in time in very much the same way, and he's partially responsible for some of these images as well. When he went into the cave and spent 2 years in the cave, he actually traveled through time and saw the different technological advancements. Therefore, he was able to write them all down. He committed them to memory, wrote them all down, wrote down all the medical techniques and everything. And this is what advanced your medical science. He saw that he was intricately woven into that tapestry or that role within your history to keep the timeline intact. He attributes to a group of innovators that also stretch back to ancient times that helped the Asgardian royal family create what you know of as the portal system or the Bifrost. They are a race of dwarves and inventors and innovators that people mimic within their steampunk type of styles and such. This is what their world looks like, a Da Vincian steampunk type of world called the world of wheels. This exists even to this day. Their planet is actually quite small, but holds all of their people. It actually hovers over your northern pole, even as I'm speaking now. And they are helping or attempting to help people clean up the planet and bring across different innovative type of messages. But time travel is the main component here, as well as even with some of your governmental factions with Montauk and other time travel projects, where they went ahead in history, but they also went backwards in history. They also left their mark in similar fashions and in similar types of ways. But this specific one was a mix between seers at the time and also different alien and human factions that went back to depict these different glyphs in the shapes that you know them to be.
Well, Lana, thank you. That was good information. Thank you for popping through.
Yes, thank you. Did you have any other questions?
I think why don't you just leave everybody today with some insight into this upcoming holiday season?
Yes, exactly. Thank you. This holiday season is actually quite important. I know beings say that from year to year to year, but as the energies begin to rev up, you see, between your Halloween and now your winter solstice, there is this massive, as you would say, wave not only of information, but people's perspectives are beginning to change, as even regards to politics, to your COVID-19, to your even your own histories, to your own way of being. There are people beginning to see these things more and more, but the energies that are revving up, not only from positive sources, but from negative sources that are bombarding your planet, are actually quite extensive, even from a cosmic type of perspective, and from a technological perspective that bombard your planet through your own moon. This is blanketing parts of your planet, attempting to prevent different information from coming to you. It is very important from here to the end of the year to find instances of walking through nature. Trust positive and benevolent nature. The information that comes through your own soul, your own oversoul, will come in more vibrantly and more clearly in instances where you're surrounded by trees and animals. And even some of the positive fae that are out there may chime in from time to time. But it is very important to walk through nature in this time frame, because it begins to cleanse all the negative junk that is bombarding you currently and can store up very much like a carbonated bottle that would eventually the top would pop off, you see, and you do not want that to take place. It is also very important to find times to go into a meditative state, and it is important, even amidst targeting, even amidst all of these things that are taking place for some people, it is important to try to find a way to step outside of that. I do not offer, absolutes for people that are suffering from targeting and being targeted individuals. I do not do that because this tends to offend those people. What I do offer is find times to walk into nature and block yourself from those. Then you will find the inner answers you need at any given time. This energy now has to be accounted for in that way. This is why some of the targeted individuals have had a harder time during this time of year, because there's much more of an arm wrestle, you see, taking place. So I wish to put that out, because there's not been a whole lot of information in that area, as well as different UFOs, you see, that are causing different bodily damage, even unintentionally. So it is important that you bring your electrolyte and your vitamin level up to guard against this. The waves that some of these ships, even invisibly, put off begin to drain a person. And also with these other waves that I'm talking about, begin to drain a person. Means you have to keep your body in more of a healthy state, even if it seems to hurt you in the process. You must get into a state whereas you are not in a more weakened state, where your body's not in a weakened state. Body, mind, and soul all have to be operating as one. This is the information I came in to offer. So thank you.
Thank you.
She was speeding through that a little bit. She was showing me in instances when I got ill recently in the past month. From the time of this recording, I was down for like 3 weeks. And what happened over that 3-week period is I couldn't consume a lot of the junk that I normally would pick at, like when we gave you that box of chocolates that time, you were picking at it. I couldn't do that. It's like I couldn't touch stuff. And I dropped like 20 pounds as a result. And apparently that's what was needed in that short amount of time because of this energy. See, they're saying that that getting more into shape is actually more crucial right now because of all this going on. Yeah, see, you're already mostly the way there. Yeah, so, you're because you work outside a lot and work and do. Yeah, so it's like me. I got to get back to that. Yeah.
Bah.
And now you have UFO and alien shirt to go along with this. So yeah, but the thing with the UFOs was interesting. This was mentioned by an insider at one point, whereas a UFO that was close to him threw off his electrolyte level, or he was told it would throw off his electrolyte level. That's what's going on with these energies. It's throwing off all the body's rhythms. And you have to get back into that spot where you're in the proper rhythm around all of this, because you're going to just see this activity increase and increase and increase as more forms of slow drip disclosure start taking place more and more. You're going to start seeing that you're going to get thrown off if you're not in the right space. So mentally, physically, all that. Yeah.
Good information there. I suppose we better wrap it up once again. Time always flies, it seems, but I guess everyone keep your eyes on the skies and keep your mouth on some pies and feed that belly full during this Thanksgiving time. By the time you see this, I hope you have had a good Thanksgiving, and I hope your Christmas that's coming up is equally as good too, but we'll see it before then, I imagine.
Oh yeah, you will.
But enjoy yourselves, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Like I said, do keep your eyes on the skies. And if you need anything, if you have any sighting that you want to report, please report it and stay open-minded about everything and talk about your experiences. Because I think, it's the combination of stories, is one way to learn many things. But until next time, you are now leaving the conspiracy sector. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye, everybody. Have fun now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, here's another UFO incident we can put on this conspiracy sector. Whereas my mother years ago was in Sedona and drove around a curve, and it was dusk, and saw a big triangular craft with glyphs on the bottom of it that were shining on the bottom in red and in other colors, I believe. This was many years ago. This was in the 90s. And this is one that hasn't been spoken about much, but it was a very large craft. It overshadowed some of the rocks that were there. Large craft. Large like the craft in the movie Eternals. Very, very similar in size. And that's what one of the things she saw. I'll include that in here. I forgot to mention that. So, date of this recording is 5:16 p.m. Tuesday, November 30th, 2021. Thank you. Hello, everyone. This is the video that Aubrey was referring to. And I'm playing it like this for this edit. I figured I'd do the screen share. This seemed to be the easiest way to make it larger like this. So I will go ahead and begin. All right. This was the video that we were talking about. Now, yeah, there was military and alien there, but one of them, at first I thought it was a TR-3B, but or like Solar Warden. But why would the military be trying to intercept a TR-3B? That's one of their own. So, and those are the famous triangular ones that were just declassified within the past few years. But this is, there's definitely alien and military in that shot. This is all he was able to get, folks. So, all right, I will end this here. The date I recorded this on was 11/30/21. Thank you.
You remember after I just joked about a UFO invasion? You remember when I just joked about an alien invasion?
Yeah. What is it?
Look, it's all moving over there. What the fuck? What the fuck? Look at that one.
I know. I saw all of them. Yeah,
We're seeing UFOs here. All of them. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
What are they?
I don't know.
There is a lot.
Oh my god. It's got to be military because there's blinking lights.
I know, but that's weird.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Unless if military's intercepting them.
I know, but look at that. Look at that one. That one's.
I know, they're all just, what the fuck? God damn it.